And welcome to today's edition of Dr. Carol's Couch. I'm your psychiatrist host, Dr. Carol Lieberman. Well, today we're going to both honor the second anniversary of October 7th and explain to you why this is a warning, why it is not just about Israel. Israel is the canary in the coal mine. But if you think the problem, the danger is just in Israel, you've got that's the wrong idea. You got a lot of things coming that you're not going to want. Terrorists want more than Israel. Israel is just the first target on their list. So we're going to watch first about 9 minutes or so of a video that I created last anniversary of October 7th and had it go on a mobile billboard truck traveling all around Los Angeles, just like I do for 9/11 anniversaries, but I had those traveling around Manhattan. You will see when you watch this video, again, it's of course, it's telling, these are real shots, these are real video shots from what happened when Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th, 2023. But it's not just that. You'll see it's a lot more. It's about people talking. It's about just the whole 9 yards of what we need to wake up to, what is going to be happening in our country, in America. It's already happening in Western Europe and in other places all over the world. And I'll tell you more about that in between, as well as showing you the video. So, I can't say enjoy, but please watch carefully because there have been a lot of lies. The one thing Hamas has been good at has been PR and propelling a lot of lies about what actually happened on that date. So it's on to the video now.
פיצצו לנו מסיבה, ואמא שלי, נופל עלינו טיל, נפתח לי החיים באמא, ואנחנו בדרום, ואמא שלי השוטרים כנפים.
אנחנו תקועים בכביש, מיליון רכבים בצד הזה ומיליון רכבים בצד הזה, ואף אחד לא יכול לצאת. גם ימינה וגם שמאלה יש שתי מחסומים של המשטרה בגלל חדירת מחבלים.
خلي 2000 يروحوا في دار الاسلام، خلي 10000 يروحوا في دار الاسلام.
والله بسلكم
يوريهم علينا.
But then came the curse of October 7th. Thousands of Iranian-backed Hamas terrorists from Gaza burst into Israel in pickup trucks, on motorcycles, and they committed unimaginable atrocities. They savagely murdered 1,200 people. They raped and mutilated women. They beheaded men. They burned babies alive. They burnt entire families alive, babies, children, parents, grandparents, in scenes reminiscent of the Nazi Holocaust. Hamas kidnapped 251 people from dozens of different countries, dragging them into the dungeons of Gaza. Israel has brought home 154 of these hostages, including 117 who returned alive. I want to assure you, we will not rest until the remaining hostages are brought home too.
أبدا من الأخيار أتباع أنا مرض أنا الداء ومني تأتي أوجاع وليس لمدمني أبدا من الأخيار أتباع أتشري الموت يا هذا أتشريه إذا.
Now, 4 in 10 parents fear terrorism is causing anxiety in their children. However, explaining the issue to them without making them feel even more stress can be difficult.
Is this the answer to children talking about terrorism? This is the book that we've just made reference to. It names Osama bin Laden as the most famous terrorist.
No one can accuse you of not confronting the issue head-on, can they? I suppose the question is if you're 5 years old, knowing this kind of detail, is that going to make you calmer and less anxious? Or is it putting adult worries onto youngsters that are very, very little?
Well, I say that terrorism is the birds and the bees talk of the 21st century. It is a fact of life, an unfortunate fact of life, that parents do feel awkward talking to children about. And this is to help the parents and teachers to bridge that gap, to give them a way to talk about it.
وعندك صبية جاعوا أتشري الموت يا هذا أتشريه إذا باعوا أتشري الداء مرتبطا وعندك صبية جاعوا أتشري الموت يا هذا أتشريه إذا باعوا أتشري الداء مرتبطا وعندك صبية جاعوا صنوف الشر في قربي فلي باع ولي صاع فزوجك تشتكي ريحا لها في الخبث أنواع.
Hamas' goal is beyond the river and the sea, is beyond any political border, is beyond Israel. Hamas's aspiration is global. And if Israel fails to destroy Hamas in Gaza, it will be the birth of an empire of savages. We cannot allow this to happen, because if Hamas succeed in bringing Israel to its knees, many other Islamists can do the same, and there would be so many of them.
It is a protest movement that's spreading. This is the University of Southern California, one of many flashpoints across the country.
The police have issued a dispersal order on the USC campus.
This whole area is pepper sprayed. Wow, it's just heavy pepper spray.
Judaism, yes. Zionism, no.
Welcome back to Dr. Carol's Couch. I'm your psychiatrist host. You've been watching a video that I created last year, the first anniversary of October 7th, the savage attack of Hamas into Israel. And it is meant to, first of all, present some truth about what actually happened. You know, if Hamas had their way, they would and they have gotten some people to believe that it was Israel who started the war, when that wasn't the case at all. There's so much. This is so. Not only am I showing this to you so that we can honor the people who were killed, the people who have been taken hostage, the families in Israel. I mean, a country that has been devastated by terrorism. And not that this is the first time. You know, Israel has been going through this time and time again, where Hamas or other terrorists have invaded Israel. None as savagely, I might add, as Hamas did on October 7th. But whenever there have been wars in the past, you know, and Israel has in the past, the leaders have given up parts of Israel, pieces of Israel, for peace. Well, we have Netanyahu now as the leader of Israel, And in fact, he's explained this. He's done press conferences where he shows a map of Israel, and he shows different parts that were given away when terrorists invaded in a quest for peace. Israel traded parts of itself. Imagine giving up parts of your body, basically, for peace. And so he said he doesn't want to do that anymore because it has never worked in the past. All that has happened is that there's been sort of a peace temporarily until Israel gets attacked again by terrorists who surround them in the countries around them. Well, now we're waiting to see what happens, whether Hamas is going to accept the 20-point plan that President Trump and Netanyahu put together to try to make peace. It, quite frankly, is a very generous plan that that Hamas should take, but they're not going to agree to all of it, I don't think. What they will agree to is some exchange of hostages for some of the prisoners that Israel has, some Palestinian or Hamas prisoners that Israel has in their jails. They're going to exchange that for the 40 or so hostages that are left, half of which approximately are dead. But the families, of course, still want their bodies to be able to bury them. So they're meeting right now in Egypt, and they are deciding on how many parts of the 20-point plan they're going to agree to. And again, I think they'll agree to the exchange of hostages for hostages that Hamas has for the prisoners that Israel has, because Hamas needs more soldiers. That's the only reason why they do it. And Hamas is driven not by logic, not by reasonableness, but by a religious zeal that tells them that they have got to destroy Israel. They teach their children from the time that the children can barely make it to the madrasas, the schools. They teach their children from the youngest age to hate Israel, to hate Jews, but also to then hate people who are considered infidels, people who are not Islamists. And so it really is a danger for the whole world, other than people who are Islamists. And that is why it's important to remember this, in addition to honoring the memories of the people who died and the families who are suffering. I've been doing a lot of therapy with people in Israel by Zoom. I'll tell you something about that too. And I'm planning to go to Israel very soon for a period of time to do therapy to help Israelis with their trauma in person. So when we come back, we're going to have more of the rest of the film, and then also I will talk to you about what is really happening in this war on terror. So stay tuned. And welcome back to Dr. Carol's Couch. I'm your psychiatrist host, Dr. Carol Lieberman. Of course, incredibly sad on this day, October 7th, 2025, a 2-year anniversary of the attack, the savage attack by Hamas. And, Hamas keeps telling people that these videos that people see on social media and so on our lies, are just either AI or some kind of a edited in some way, and that these horrible, horrible things, babies being burned in ovens, people being tortured, women being raped, men being raped, people being killed, of course, as Hamas went into the not only the music festival, but then the kibbutzim near the border, killing people. In fact, there was this story just today about a man who was kept hostage, and he managed to survive, and he managed to come back. He came back earlier than today, and what kept him alive was wanting to see his wife and 2 daughters again. And he was one of the people, his family was in one of the kibbutz where they stormed that kibbutz, and he yelled to his wife and daughters, "I'll be back." And so that kept him alive, that desire to fulfill the promise, first of all, to his wife and daughters, and also, of course, to be reunited with them. So, but what happened was, when he finally did get released, he found out that his wife and daughters had been killed in that attack on October 7th. So there are stories upon stories like this. I'll let you now go back to finish the video, and you'll understand more.
Kids are already getting killed. By Hamas terrorists. By Hamas terrorists. By Netanyahu and Biden. Jeez.
Whenever we see a Palestinian flag, that's a brother and sister that is fighting for Palestine. That's the
And then I'm being kicked and stepped on.
The protests were reaching a boiling point, and Eleanor was suddenly caught in the middle.
I ran down to try to pull her out of their feet, and they pushed her back, and her head slammed the ground. And for a minute, I thought that's it. I lost her.
The suspect hit 75-year-old Rafi Nissel on the head with a belt. His son posting this photo showing his dad's bloodied shirt. Rafi believes him and his wife were targeted because they are Jewish.
At least 5 anti-Semitic incidents have been reported citywide this week alone.
The Muslim Brotherhood is here in the United States. We see Islamists and communists marching together in the same street, having a common goal. And their goal is the destruction and the fall of the American civilization. How could any American not consider this as an immediate threat? Is this the time when the Allies abandon their friends? Just because we have some angry pro-Palestine thinking that this is a cool thing, exploiting the American freedoms, their anti-civilization, their anti-America, their anti-freedom.
I think that the children in Gaza are more scared than I am.
From coast to coast.
Your sign says, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." Yeah. Can you tell me which river and which sea we're talking about here?
This is you've caught me on the spot, and I'm really horrible when asking questions. But basically, the river and the sea that border both sides of Palestine, where Israel is right now.
Some of these protesters hold up signs proclaiming gays for Gaza. They might as well hold up signs saying chickens for KFC. Ladies and gentlemen, this war can come to an end now. All that has to happen is for Hamas to surrender, lay down its arms, and release all the hostages. But if they don't, we will fight until we achieve victory, total victory. There is no substitute for it.
If Hamas laid down their weapons today, there will be peace. But if Israel laid down their weapons, there would be destruction of the Western civilization.
But I have a message for you. Israel will win this battle. We'll win this battle because we don't have a choice. After generations in which our people were slaughtered, remorselessly butchered, and no one raised a finger in our defense, we now have a state. We now have a brave army, an army of incomparable courage, and we are defending ourselves. As the book of Samuel says in the Bible, Netzach Yisrael lo yishaker. The eternity of Israel will not falter. חזקו ואמצו ואל תיראו מפניהם, כי אדוני אלוהיך הוא ההולך עמך, לא ירפך ולא יעזבך. עם ישראל חי, the people of Israel live, now, tomorrow, forever. Thank you.
And welcome back to Dr. Carol's Couch. I know this is probably pretty heavy, some of the things that you watched in the video, but, you know, it's really, really, really important to know the truth. I was starting to say before about how Hamas and other terrorists and people who align with the terrorists want you to think that these scenes are lies, are just AI or some other editing trick. But the thing is that Hamas, most of these videos came from the glasses, the video glasses that the Hamas terrorists were wearing as they went into Israel. They were recording what they were doing because they were so proud of it. And they wanted to show the folks back home, how barbarian they were. And so none of that were lies. And it is shocking to think that people could act that way. And in fact, what October 7th did a lot more, as if it wouldn't be bad enough, killing 1,200 people, taking 250 hostage, of which there are approximately 48 left, or half of that alive. But besides that, it started off an incredible, you saw from some of the pictures, when October 7th happened, there were people cheering all over the world. It brought out hatred towards Israel. It brought out anti-Semitism. And it just, it had to have been, to some degree, it had to have been orchestrated, because there was no way that people would have been able to spontaneously do that. But regardless, whether it was orchestrated and people knew they were going to cheer, or whether it was, and by the way, a lot of those pictures were Palestinians cheering. The same people that we are now supposed to make friends with, make peace with, when they were cheering the deaths, these horrific killings of Israelis. So how do you do that? Also, so in addition to spreading all of this hatred towards Israel, anti-Semitism, even just some examples, there was on Yom Kippur, the highest high holiday in the Jewish religion, there was a terror attack in Manchester in the UK. And it was one man, a jihadist, and he rammed his car into the front of the synagogue, and then he had a knife, and also he pretended he had a fake suicide vest on, and also there were explosives, but he didn't get to ignite the explosives. But these things are happening all the time, all over the world. All of these anti-Semitic kinds of attacks that were, in a sense, these didn't start on October 7th, 2023. There have been anti-Semitic attacks. There have been pogroms against Jews, for hundreds of years. So it's not that this is new. The idea, this hatred is not new. Jews get blamed for everything, anything wrong in the world. And fortunately, we have been able to survive. But not everybody. The Jews as a religion, as a group, have been able to survive, but with a lot of loss. So one of the things that Hamas, I was talking before about their great PR arm, and they have, managed to convince the world that Israel is perpetrating genocide. Well, genocide is the killing of a group of people, a specific group of people, for them being that group of people. Israel is not doing that. They're not trying to kill Palestinians. The problem is that Hamas, the terrorists, try to save their own skin by holding Palestinians in front of them, or by making these tunnels underneath the homes and streets and different places in Gaza, and keeping their weapons there, keeping their weapons under hospitals, tunnels under hospitals. So then, of course, if Israel bombs a hospital, oh, look at that, Israel bombed a hospital. Israel didn't want to bomb a hospital, didn't want to bomb civilians. It wasn't genocide. They wanted to kill the terrorists. They wanted to kill Hamas. So Hamas knows all of that, which is why, again, for PR, I'll give them credit. They do have the PR down, the idea that of where to put themselves and their weapons and so on, so that Israel would have to destroy people, citizens, if to kill them. In some cases, obviously, the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, tries to not kill other people. They just try to kill Hamas, who are trying to kill them. What also has happened since then is that there have been copycat attacks. You know, like I was mentioning, the synagogue in Manchester. You'll remember that Manchester was the place where there was a terror attack a few years back at an Ariana Grande concert. I went to Manchester. I wrote a book. I've written 2 books on terrorism. I'm called The Terrorist Therapist, and the book has the latest book especially has won 5 different awards, including the Paris Book Festival Award, the London Book Festival Award, the New York and the Hollywood Book Festival Awards, and a Mom's Choice Award. And so I went to London and I went to Paris to receive my awards. And while I was there, I donated my books to libraries and to schools, and I met with parents to help them, because the second book, the latest book, is Lions and Tigers and Terrorists, Oh My, How to Protect Your Child in a Time of Terror. So I went to different schools in London and in Paris and gave talks with parents, to parents, helping parents help their kids deal with terrorism, things like that. And so I went to Manchester. Since I was already in London doing this, I went to Manchester and I went to libraries, donated my books, all kinds of things. And because, of course, this has the biggest effect on children. Then we have, of course, Greta Thunberg, who and her flotillas. She keeps supposedly trying to ride her flotillas, float on her flotillas into Gaza to distribute aid. However, when Israel has caught them and when they look at what's on the flotilla, there is very little that could be considered aid. There is very little food. There is very little medicine. There's very little of anything that could be considered aid. And what it is to get attention, because Greta likes to get attention. And since climate change isn't as hot in the news these days, she's doing something else. What else can I tell you about? Well, let's see. How much time do I have? Okay. Let me tell you, in case you don't know, I will tell you about some of Trump's 20-point proposal to end the war in Gaza. And, he was successful in getting the Abraham Accords passed in the Middle East, getting some countries to agree to, and who have kept the promise to be peaceful with Israel. And so I'll give you some of his 20-point plan. Number 1, Gaza will be de-radicalized. Gaza will be a de-radicalized, terror-free zone that does not pose a threat to its neighbors. Well, yes, I mean, that's what we want, of course. But Hamas, that's sort of assuming that Hamas isn't going to stay there, or the Hamas that terrorists who do stay there won't be terrorists anymore, which is like asking a leopard to get rid of his spots. Second one, Gaza will be redeveloped for the benefit of the people of Gaza who have suffered more than enough. Also a good idea. 3, if both sides agree to this proposal, the war will immediately end. Israeli forces will withdraw to the agreed upon line to prepare for a hostage release. During this time, all military operations, including aerial and artillery bombardment, will be suspended, and battled lines will remain frozen until conditions are met for the complete staged withdrawal. Now, I just read, I just read an article about how the latest is that Hamas is agreeing to release some of the hostages. But, and as I said, of course they would agree to that because they need more Israel to release some of their prisoners who can then go and fight for Hamas. But Hamas is asking that Israel back out all the way of Gaza, get out of Gaza altogether. Now, I don't know that that's going to happen because there were lines. They drew a map with different lines that would borders that where Israel would move back as each part of the plan would be initiated. But you know, it was only supposed to be up to the first line to get the hostages. Now they're asking for all the lines, no Israeli Defense Force in Israel. That is, you know, I think that's a non-starter, but we'll see. Then within 72 hours of Israel publicly accepting this agreement, all hostages, alive and deceased, will be returned. Okay. Number 5, once all hostages are released, Israel will release 250 life sentence prisoners, plus 1,700 Gazans who were detained after October 7th, 2023, including all women and children detained. For every Israeli hostage whose remains are released, Israel will release the remains of 15 deceased Gazans. I mean, the numbers are, you can tell it's, you know, for every one Gazan, I mean, there are 48 hostages left, dead and alive, and Israel is agreeing to release 250 life sentence prisoners. Now, these are the prisoners who are most likely to want to go to the front again and attack Israel. Plus 1,700 Gazans who were detained. Okay. Anyhow, you get the gist. And let me just see if. Oh, here. Number 6. Once all hostages are returned, Hamas members who commit to peaceful coexistence and to decommission their weapons will be given amnesty. Members of Hamas who wish to leave Gaza will be provided safe passage to receiving countries. Now, you know, first of all, countries don't want to take Gazans in. Don't want to take Hamas in. The Middle East countries don't want Hamas. So, you know, but they're saying Hamas members who commit to peaceful coexistence and to decommission their weapons. Well, Hamas believes that in order to be good Islamists, they have to obey the law of what Allah wants, which is not to have peaceful coexistence with Israel. It's to destroy Israel and to kill all the Jews and to kill all the other people who are infidels. You know, anybody who's not an Islamist is an infidel. So how can they agree to this? And if they do agree to it, they're lying. They're like what I said before. Muhammad said it's okay to lie if you're at war. So the response to this so far, the written response so far, has been Hamas wrote a response on October 3rd, 2025, and it starts out, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Well, right away, that tells you, that this is, what should I say, lies. Because Allah wouldn't want them to do this. They're not going to do this in the name of Allah. That is going against their religion. And then they say, in an effort to halt the aggression and war of extermination being waged against our steadfast people. In other words, they are sticking to the story that it was Israel who started the war. Now, certainly, there should be no question about that. There are pictures, lots of pictures of Hamas coming over the border, and both with Israeli cameras, that are out there, and also with Hamas cameras that they wore in their glasses, their goggles. Um, anyhow, it goes on, and I'm very worried. I mean, I have to say, I want to make sure one thing is clear. I admire and respect and am grateful to both President Trump and Netanyahu for doing all of this. Nobody else has dared to do this. This is the greatest effort to achieve peace in the Middle East. So I am grateful to them for that. I would love it if it results in peace, but I just hope everyone is ready. You know, Trump said if they don't accept this peaceful proposal, there's going to be an obliteration, that presumably Israel and America will obliterate Gaza. And I think that may need to happen. Thank you for watching.